and welcome back to the Hero Gauntlet. So in this matchup, we have the brave, the powerful, the raging Beowulf, who's going to be against the inquisitive, smart, and deductive Sherlock Holmes. Now let's look at their decks. So remember, Beowulf has that rage, and he gains that rage from taking damage, which can increase his attacks. He can dish damage back when he's defending, but as well as gain rage in unique ways, like playing schemes and discarding enemy cards. Now let's look at Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson have cards that cannot be canceled. It's their specific cards. You got that service revolver. You got the elementary and confirmed suspicion, which is by choosing numbers, and if you get it right, then you can cancel effects or deal damage. So let's see how Beowulf's doing so far. Nothing yet, but let's see what happens. Alright, let's see here. So now going to the very beginning of the fight, we're setting up on Baskerville Manor, the home map of Sherlock Holmes. One of his famous mysteries he was able to solve. So going into this, Baskerville's got a lot of these cool secret passageways on the corners of the map that enable you to go around to different areas of the map. Really pretty cool. But what Sherlock Holmes decides to do right in the first round here is actually play 2 confirmed suspicions. One deals 3 damage to me right away by discarding a War King, but the other one goes right after my Fatal Struggle. Now this is where I think that computer knows a little bit more information than they should. I don't really think that anybody would just jump right off the bat and use confirmed suspicion that frequently. Especially guessing a 1 right off the bat. But, you know, it is a possible chance that they would do so if they had those 2 cards within their opening hand. But after that, I have to decide what to do here. I lost a card in my hand. I have to kind of, you know, I lost 2 cards actually in my hand. I have to figure out where I'm going to go. So I decide to maneuver twice here just to refill my hand and get what I need. I do have 3 rage though, so I am going to be able to utilize that to the best of my ability. Here we go. Sherlock Holmes has Dr. Watson attack Wiglaf. This could be a service revolver, but I think this early in the game, I don't know if they're going to throw that down. I was contemplating what to do. I only have 1 defense for Wiglaf. He has 9 health, but not many defenses that he could be able to use. So I decide to use the skirmish, at least to mitigate a lot of the damage, and I do. I get rid of all the damage that they're going to attack me with. And they're going to be able to draw a card due to the ability on Education Never Ends. So they're going to be able to draw their cards, and they're going to be able to kind of get ready for their next turn. That card is really good for them in order to just keep refilling their hand every time they attack. Right now, I decided to use the Golden Drinking Horn. I have 3 rage right off the bat, and I definitely need to start healing up a bit. I took 5 damage in the first round. That was definitely rough to start off the game with. So I decided to draw 2 cards, kind of figure out where I want to move. I decided to go right next to Dr. Watson, and I decided to heal. I was hoping to get a versatile in order to have some defenses, and sadly I didn't get any defenses, which would leave me wide open to some big attacks from Dr. Watson. So instead of going after him with any of my attacks, I decide to try to maneuver and kind of reposition myself, because it just makes more sense. Even if I use Vigor and Courage, he still has a decent number of cards in hand that he can use against me. So I was contemplating it a lot, and then I eventually decided to go with maneuvering out of the way, just because of the fact that I need defenses in my hand. So I decided to maneuver. I get that War King. It's just a 1 defense, but still could be helpful in certain regards. So I decided to do that. Sherlock Holmes moves forward, Dr. Watson moves forward, and Watson goes right after Beowulf yet again. I only have 1 defense, so I defend with War King, and Education Never Ends comes out again, and he's able to dish out 2 damage to me. But the thing is that I'm able to draw cards. This might be helpful for me at this point, because I am very low on defenses. So I'm able to draw a card from that, and now it goes on to my turn. So I have 6 cards. I can fill up my hand. Oh, I got 2 equal of Grendels, which is really useful. And now I have 1 rage, so I need to build up my rage. I decide to go for Epic Poem here because it's going to build up my rage a little bit further. And he's able to block most of it with stunning methods. But the thing is that I'm able to get 1 over that, so he doesn't win the combat to look at my hand. Which is very helpful, because even though he's already like been able to look at my hand multiple times, I did draw those 2 defense cards I don't want him to see. Then he maneuvers and tries to go over next to Sherlock Holmes with Dr. Watson with using a scheme, which is really interesting to play considering it's not going to heal Sherlock Holmes, but gives him some card draw and moves Watson right next to him, which is very helpful for him. So I have Woodgloff go right on the other side of Dr. Watson. I kind of decided to go after Watson in order to prevent more heals, but I realized kind of like halfway through the game that was just not going to be the right decision for me. So I go after Watson. I deal 3 damage, which is awesome. He doesn't defend it, which is great to, you know, at least feel like you're actually doing something. And Wiggloff right now and Beowulf, I'm trying to, you know, remember how to actually activate the ability. But I eventually swap their places, and I get Beowulf right there next to them. Sherlock Holmes goes again with another confirmed suspicion and uses 3. This hurts me so much. Ancient Heirloom and my Equal of Grendels are so helpful. And I knew that since they were getting kind of aggressive with some of the attacks, I decided to get rid of Ancient Heirloom. Mostly because of the 1 boost, but also, you know, the fact that at least I have some defenses on my side here to kind of help me out. Sadly, though, I have no attacks in order to deal with this threat. Ancient Heirloom could have really helped me go right after Dr. Watson and potentially take him out. But sadly, I didn't, you know, kind of think about that in the moment. So I maneuver twice. I go to a secret passage just to give myself some versatility here. And Sherlock Holmes boosts a maneuver to get up right next to me. And Sherlock Holmes finally attacks Beowulf. I use Equal of Grendel, which is going to be able to trigger because it's an immediately. And so I'm going to be able to use the 2 rage to deal 3 damage back to Sherlock Holmes, which is awesome. And then Sherlock Holmes may change the value of my defense to my boost value, which is going to deal 2 damage to me. So I take 2, he takes 3, which is not a great exchange for me right now as Beowulf. It goes back to my turn. I'm down to 2 rage, but you know, I'm trying to think of all these cards in Sherlock Holmes' hand. I'm trying to see if I can deal with some stuff. I get rid of a feint, which is huge. And I'm able to get 1 more rage that I need. And I decide to maneuver out of there in the hopes that I can maybe get to someplace a little bit safer until I can kind of reset myself here. Sherlock Holmes goes right back there outside the front of the manor. And he's able to use that scheme again with Watson in order to get that heal off yet again. I decide to go after him right here with Beowulf. I do have that beautiful sidekick destructing card. I was hoping that if I could at least win the combat, I can at least spend all 3 rage just to get rid of Dr. Watson altogether and prevent any more healing that he can give to him. But sadly, I wasn't really thinking about some of his defenses. And, you know, fixed point and changing age, he's able to get that nice healing for Sherlock Holmes and himself. And he's able to survive that combat, which really hurt me a lot. The healing output of Sherlock Holmes was incredible. And to see that he was able to, you know, do so much here, it really hurt. So he comes after me again. He attacks me. And, you know, we're going to see what he gets in return. Oof, a nice 3 damage by utilizing that Equal of Grendel. and trying to retaliate as best as I can. That's kind of what Equal Grendel's really good for. But he's able to get the healing off as well, so it was kind of like I got 2 damage on him with that retaliation effect. So, I was kind of really hoping to do some more, but I decided to go after his hand with Vigor and Courage in order to at least reduce his hand size. I've been trying to get a little bit more of a hand advantage. And I end up moving kind of Wiglaf all the way up next to him. And we're going to interrupt the game here for our halftime report. So let's look at some of the stats here. So looking at Beowulf, he's dealt 4 combat damage, 6 direct damage. It seems to be a fight of direct damage at this point in time and utilizing those schemes. Lots of health recovered. So let's see what's going on within the battlefield here. So we see that Sherlock Holmes is kind of maneuvering twice, trying to kind of get himself well positioned here. I decide to try to figure out what I'm going to do. He's trying to refill his hand. I'm trying to do some stuff before he can do so. I decided to go with that nice Remnant of Valor to at least deal some damage, some direct damage here, because I'm kind of desperate for that at this moment. As we see, Sherlock now starting to get away, but now he has Dr. Watson with that range is so impactful. I'm looking at this here. Would he go after me with the service revolver? And yes, he would. I was contemplating actually letting Wiglaf take that damage just fully, but mitigating it a little bit with a feint is not terrible, considering that feints are kind of somewhat useless against Sherlock Holmes. So going into this, after taking a big swing there from Dr. Watson, I'm trying to figure out what I would like to do from this point forward. I would love to try to get up right next to Sherlock Holmes to try to see if I can dish out some damage. I have 2 rage, and I really want to use Ancient Heirloom, but I really like using Ancient Heirloom with, while I have 3 rage. So the thing is, I decided to go over right next to Sherlock Holmes and use Epic Poem, but of course he has that lovely feint that he's able to utilize right at that point in time. I really wasn't thinking about that. I should have gone after him with the skirmish, at least to try to get some damage over that, but still, it was, it was a wash at this point. He has a lot of big attack cards coming my way. And he throws a counter punch at me, which I think this is probably the best interaction I can get with counter punch, besides a feint. And the thing is I was able to block all the damage from that attack and then move Sherlock Holmes away so he couldn't deal damage to me with that after combat effect. So I was like, really, it was a really useful ploy there to at least move him away. Right now I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I still have 2 rage. I decided to move Wiglaf onto the other side in the hopes to potentially pin him, keep him away from some secret passages. But of course, Sherlock Holmes always finds a way. He's able to maneuver all the way over there within the outside gardens, and he has Dr. Watson attack me all the way from across the map. It's a really crazy angle there that he's able to get at me through the windows, up the stairs, but Dr. Watson is able to do so. I contemplated a bit, and then he goes after me with the service revolver. I use Equal of Grendel, which is going to devastate Dr. Watson at this point. He's not going to be able to survive that. He takes that damage, he goes down, but sadly I take a meaty 2 damage from that attack. And I'm going to be able to gain a rage. So going into this, I'm looking at the battlefield. It's not really looking good for me at this point. I'm losing cards in my deck. I'm not getting an incredible amount of value out of the Vigor and Courage, except for that. That was a pretty big value. Getting rid of that Elementary was pretty big. So being able to be full on my rage, get ready for a big attack. Dr. Watson's out of the picture. I'm thinking I'm in good standing now, considering I got Wiglaf there that could potentially deal some damage from a distance. So I go after him. I decided to move Beowulf up there, trying to get a little bit more aggressive because my deck count is getting a little bit lower. And I go after him with Fatal Struggle, but he utilizes the Elementary and guesses a 4 to basically negate the entire card. That was really rough. Luckily, he had that last remaining elementary there, and then he goes after me, and I'm trying to go after my defenses. I'm like, he might have something silly that I can use feint on. I'm contemplating it for a little bit, and I eventually decide to use feint. I feel like I should have probably used the skirmish, but you know, those are the lessons you learn by playing the game, because you can't even cancel his abilities. But he dishes that nasty 3 damage onto me. He's been getting a lot of big chunks onto me. And sadly, I'm already maxed out in rage, and he's able to dish out a lot of damage. So I have the golden drinking horn with my first maneuver. I'm looking at that as a potential way to at least regain some health and be able to, you know, get some more sustainability out there. I move Wiglaf over on that side just to at least get closer to him if he decides to go further south. I at least can stay on top of him. Beowulf, then I just literally heal with that card. I don't want to do more card draw because I'm afraid of overdrawing with fatigue. And considering that I'm already low on health, it just was not looking good for me. Sherlock Holmes maintaining a really high amount of health at this point really just was crushing me. It was just crushing me from the inside. I decided to move Beowulf on the bottom of the stairs there. And I'm going to try to go after Sherlock with another attack. I'm avoiding the Ancient Heirloom again because I don't want to waste too much rage. I go after him. He does the do strategy, so he's able to literally reduce my attack to 1. Sherlock Holmes has so much in his kit to mess around with your cards. It is ridiculous. And it got to a point where I just really couldn't do anything to him. He's able to eliminate the impossible by getting rid of my War King, my only defense card. He comes at me with a big 5 attack, just perfectly played. Is able to lower, reduce me down to 1 health. This is not looking good for me at this point. I really did not play this that well. As I, this is what you do, right? In reflection, you kind of realize, like, oh, I didn't play some of those interactions that well. But I do go right after Sherlock here, and I am going to try to finally, do that nice big attack. I got 3 rage on me right now. This is my opportunity to do so. Sherlock's only got 1 card in hand. This is it. This is my opportunity. Knowing that the card can't be canceled, I feel pretty confident, but of course he has that counter punch, which sadly is going to do me in for this one. I'm able to get Ancient Heirloom up to 9, which is the highest you can get it to. Sorry, not 9, 8. So I'm able to get all the way up to 8 to deal 5 damage to finally get him down to 10 health, but sadly that is not going to be enough. He's going to be able to counter punch me. It's going to reduce me to -1, and that is going to end the match. And sadly, Beowulf is not smart enough to get around Baskerville Manor, as Sherlock Holmes is able to run circles around him. And that ends this fight. So looking at the final stats here, we can see that Beowulf had 9 combat damage, 11 direct damage. Sherlock, though, 17 combat damage. So much damage coming out from Sherlock. But those high enough amount of schemes played just made it look like it was a pretty even matchup, but that efficiency rating of 1.03 compared to 2.14, Sherlock Holmes definitely had the better outcome within this one, with that huge 11 health difference. So looking at it this way, Beowulf has got 1 loss, but he's got 2 more to fight.